ọmọ mi ọkọ mi ọmọ oníyàn dédú ọmọ alájẹ káàbọ̀ sínú ayé wa ṣe rere o ò ní rí pọ́njú ara ò ní ní ẹ ò ní ṣàárẹ̀ ní orúkọ Jésù àmín 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 ẹ̀rù wà tọkọ ẹ Báyọ̀lé ẹ máa rí owó àti ọlá àtàwọn tó máa fi tọmọ náà ní orúkọ Jésù ọmọ náà àdìwọn àdìgbà fún yín ò ní ṣàárẹ̀ wá jèrè ọmọ ní orúkọ Jésù. Cynthia, it is well with you.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Cindy's Musings. If you're new here, my name is Cindy and welcome to my channel. If you've been wondering where I disappeared to since my last video, that is because I had to take a very long hiatus to have my baby. Yes, I'm a mama, I'm a mamacita, and that's on period. So I'm officially a first-time mom, and today is episode 1 of a special mini series where I'll be taking you behind the scenes. Well, I'll be talking and sharing a lot about my pregnancy journey and my motherhood journey as well, where I've been and um, everything that I went through throughout my pregnancy and still going through in motherhood, right? Because it's an endless cycle, to be honest. And I found out that I was pregnant in October. How did I find out? I started feeling sick, right? I told myself that it was malaria, but I knew that it wasn't possible because you can't live abroad and have malaria, at least in my experience, as far as I know. And so I started to have like body aches, and it didn't make sense to me. I just felt off, and then I took the home test and it confirmed that I was pregnant. Then I went to the hospital for a final confirmation, right? And it was confirmed that I was pregnant. I was considered high risk because when you get to a certain age as a woman, there's something, everything has a name now. There's something called advanced AMA, advanced maternal age. When you are 35 and above, you are considered high risk. And it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you, right? It's just, I think, a medical term that is used for a purpose just to be able to monitor women 35 and older, because most times they are more at risk of having complications, right? Because of the age thing. I was considered high risk, and due to this, I had to be closely monitored, and I had to go for like frequent checkups, like almost every other week. I was going to the hospital, even though I confirmed that I was pregnant when I was 2 months, right? But this didn't deter me from doing what I had to do. My personal life was still, going well. I wasn't so sick that I was like bedridden or something. I was still able to function. I even traveled to the UK twice. And though first trimester was terrible, this is, I think, something that is common with most women. A lot of women, go through like that morning sickness. I had it, like I couldn't even keep food down. The worst thing for me, my first trimester, was that I usually couldn't brush, right? If I want to brush, I have to do it after eating and the food has digested. If I make the mistake of like brushing my teeth before eating, even if my last meal was eaten like maybe hours ago, I'm still going to like, throw up. It was really terrible. Like I was always afraid to brush while in my first trimester. And then at some point I had this severe pain that only occurred at night, like from 11 p.m. to like 2 a.m. I had this pain that felt like something was leaving my body. But when I spoke to my doctor, I was told that it's the whatever that was attaching to the whatever. To be honest, I don't know all the medical terms, but I'm sure that there is some explanation about that on the internet if you check. So it was very painful. Like I could feel the baby or the whatever lining attaching to the uterus. And yeah, that went on for like a week and then stopped because I was really scared that I was having symptoms of a miscarriage, but I was told that wasn't the case, and thankfully it wasn't. And then I had to have ultrasounds. Um, I did the anomaly testing. Here you do tests, you do the glucose test, and then that was where my problem started. So prior to being pregnant, I was already placed on blood pressure medication, but it wasn't that serious, right? They were just trying to make sure that my blood pressure was still within the normal range of 120/80, but because I had higher readings. So by the time I got pregnant, of course, pregnancy induced blood pressure. Um, I had higher readings, which occurred later in the trimester, like third trimester. But when I did the glucose test, which is compulsory, I was diagnosed with gestational diabetes. So this thing is not to be toyed with, because imagine being pregnant and having to be on a diet. It was really a terrible time for me, because I was grateful I didn't have cravings, right? A lot of pregnant women, will tell you that they were craving things. I see things that people post online, like, oh, I was craving bread and ice cream. I was craving corn and beans, like weird things. But I didn't have that experience, because I couldn't even eat anything. Like my taste bud wasn't working throughout my pregnancy. Like they told me it was going to last maybe my first and second trimester, but in my case, I never regained my sense of taste until I had my baby. So anything I ate just tasted very bland and bitter. So I had to like psych myself to eat while I was pregnant, because I didn't just enjoy anything I ate. I couldn't taste anything. I also had to be on a diet because of gestational diabetes. So I was given like a diet plan, and I needed to eat like certain kind of foods and at certain times. Like, so normally before I got pregnant, I used to eat maybe twice or three times at most a day. But due to the diet plan, I was on a diabetic plan, and it required me to eat at least six times every day, small portions, six times every day. And it wasn't very easy, because what it meant was that I had to wake up as early as 6 a.m., take my medication, and start my feeding plan and whatever, just so that I'm on track. Also, my advice to you, if you are trying to get pregnant or you're already pregnant, right? Please make sure that you take your medication. If you are trying to get pregnant, there's nothing wrong with taking folic acid. I know that I was already doing that prior to getting pregnant. I wasn't trying to conceive of anything, to be honest. We weren't really trying to conceive. When I found out I was pregnant, like, so just like, okay, fine, yeah, it's a good thing, but it wasn't like I was actively like trying to conceive. You can take folic acid, but please speak. I'm not a medical practitioner. This is not medical advice. It's just my personal experience. And when I asked, I was told that there's nothing wrong with taking folic acid, even if you are not pregnant. Also, take it while pregnant. Please take it, if not for anything, for the sake of your baby. I'm someone who doesn't like to like ingest medication. I'd rather you give me injection than for me to like drink medication. But when I got pregnant, I needed to think for not only myself, but for the sake of my baby, to protect my baby and to have a very healthy baby, which eventually worked out for me, despite having to deal with anemia, gestational diabetes, high blood pressure. I had carpal tunnel syndrome as well. I'm going to explain what that means. And I think I also had polyandromous. I don't know if I got the pronunciation, but what it means is that when you have excess amniotic fluid, the baby was basically like swimming in a large pool of fluid, right? And this can be dangerous, because can lead to maybe a miscarriage or something. I'm not a medical practitioner. I'm just repeating what I was told. I had all of these things, right? So of course, technically, I was already even considered high risk even before all these things were diagnosed. Please, if you are pregnant, make sure that you take your medication for the sake of the baby. And then I had to have an emergency C-section due to the gestational diabetes, right? I was already scheduled to have my baby in my 37th week, because there was a risk of maybe stillbirth and other things like complications if I decided to wait till like my 40th or 42nd week to have the baby. So they already advised me that it would be safer to have the baby in my 37th week, which means either an induction or epidural for a C-section to have the baby. The due date was June 13th, but I was already scheduled for an elective C-section 29th of May. I was counting down to this while going for my checkup. I did a lot of ultrasounds. Trust me, it was bad. I did a lot of ultrasound. I did an ultrasound every week from my 32nd week, right? Every week I had to go to see doctor. Sometimes I had 2 ultrasounds in a week. At some point I had to ask, are you sure it's safe to do an ultrasound every time? Because of course this is like radiation and all of that, as I think or assumed. So I was a bit worried that doing an ultrasound every time could affect the baby, but I was told that it's safe. During a routine check in my 35th week, 5 days, 35 weeks, 5 days, I went for another checkup. And every checkup too, they were taking urine. Yes, I had to do a urine test every week. When you are 35 and above and pregnant, you will go through things, except of course you don't have good like um medical doctors around you checking you. But it's very important that you take into consideration this fact when you are trying to have a baby at a certain age. I believe that when you are younger, your body still, is flexible and easy. And it doesn't even mean that people that are younger don't have complications, right? Bodies are different. Some people experience have a breeze when they are pregnant, they don't have any issues, while some people are even like on bed rest from the day they are pregnant. So bodies are different. Thankfully, I didn't have to spend a lot of time. Like I only was admitted once, and that was in my 34th week, and it's because of high blood pressure, right? And just to monitor me to be sure that it wasn't going to, get higher than it was, because I had to get a blood pressure machine and stuff like that, just to check myself at home every day, even though I was taking medication. Went for my routine check and did the urine test. The results showed that I had protein in my urine, which is an indication of preeclampsia, as I was told. Remember, I'm not a doctor. And so I was immediately told to go to the emergency section to have my baby. It wasn't planned. It was such a funny experience because that morning I had already eaten, right? And it wasn't like heavy food. Again, I'm on a diet. So I'd had just yogurt and some fruits, nuts like almond and all of that. And when you want to have a C-section, it's usually advised that you've not eaten anything in 8 hours and above, right? It wasn't more than 8 hours since I had last eaten when I went to the hospital for my checkup, because I ate and then went to the hospital. So they had to wait. So I had to wait um for some few hours to have my baby. They couldn't even wait 8 hours. I think they did my surgery 6 hours or 4 hours right after I'd eaten. But they just made sure to ask me to state exactly what I had eaten and the quantity, just to weigh like the risk of having the C-section, even though my stomach was not empty, right? I had my baby May 14th instead of May 29th. So she was born and considered preterm and had to be in the ICU for a couple of days. But thankfully, she didn't have any issues. There were no complications with her. She was very healthy. And that's why I am advising that you take your medication. Please, anything that's been um, given to you by your doctor, please go to a doctor, go to the hospital to make sure that you are consistent with your medication. It wasn't easy. I also had to inject myself with insulin twice every day. I told myself, I'm not a nurse. I don't have any nursing experience or medical experience. But when you have another life in your care, you will do what you have to do, right? So, and again, the risk with gestational diabetes is not just, or high blood pressure is not just on the baby, it's also on you. I'm sure you've heard situations where mother and child don't survive, like childbirth. So childbirth is a very risky business, even though it's something that happens every other hour, every other day of the year. It's a risky business. Don't let anybody deceive you and tell you that, oh, our mothers had 9, 10 children. That was back in the day. Take things seriously for yourself and for the sake of your baby or babies. I'm just going to stop here because I don't want to say everything. So many things happened. I experienced a lot of things, but I'm just so grateful to God and to my family and friends who stood by me through this journey. I thought that I was going to be able to, do some content, pregnancy content and stuff while pregnant. But to be honest, man proposes, God disposes. The spirit was willing, but the flesh was weak. I'm still tired. I still haven't fully recovered. Postpartum is another thing. When I was pregnant, I kept telling myself that I can't wait to have my baby. And I wasn't even sleeping. I had enough time to sleep, even though I was experiencing discomfort, the bump, not being able to sleep, having to wake up multiple times to pee. But I deceived myself with the idea that when the baby, I don't know who I thought I was or what I was thinking. Again, I'm a first-time mom. I've never had a baby before. I just assumed that, oh, when the baby comes, things will be easier. I'll be able to sleep. My dear, if you're pregnant, please sleep. 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 Don't let anybody make you feel bad. Sleep, because you wish you did when the baby comes. I'm learning a lot. It's just myself and my husband taking care of the baby. There's nobody to do omugo for me. I'm an orphan, and my mother-in-law is not able to come right now, or hasn't been able to come. Again, we don't live in Nigeria. If we're in Nigeria, I'm sure I will be relaxed, but it's just myself and my husband, our first time parents, so it's a lot. There's so much to do. Even though I'm on maternity leave until 2028 or the end of 2027, depends on when I want to go back to work. But thankfully, I live in a country that prioritizes maternity leave. You get 18 months maternity leave here in Estonia. Yes, you get 18 months. And if you're already in Estonia, you're thinking that, oh, maybe I should get pregnant to escape work. My dear, the baby will still be there, and it's double work. I think this was what I deceived myself into believing before I got pregnant, that I will need. But I'm really grateful because so many things have happened, and I'm just so glad that I had my baby when I did. I did take my time before having a baby. This is also something I'm going to be discussing in subsequent videos to the younger generation, as big auntie that I am. But I'm just so grateful, and I'm happy, even though there are days where I want to pull my hair out when Emerald is, yes, my baby's name is Emerald, is acting like a baby. But when I look into those beautiful eyes of ours, I'm just like so proud of myself. I didn't know that I could do it because I went through so much. I had to take so many medication. Pregnancy has a lot of complications. And I think that I experienced almost everything: gestational diabetes, high blood pressure, anemia. I still have anemia. I don't know when I will ever be free from anemia, but one day, one step at a time. Thank you so much for listening. I don't want this video to be too long, but please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Let me know about your experience. Have you had a baby? Did you have natural birth, C-section? Share your experience. Have you ever had to be go into an emergency to have your baby? Please let me know in the comment below. Like, subscribe, and share. See you in my next video. Bye.